Successful engagement with member states at the United Nations on South Africa's G20 priorities, Dangor and his team travelled to Washington D.C. for what was billed as a G20 Troika meeting that now appears to have encompassed bilateral engagements between South Africa and the United States. According to Dirko's statement, the SA delegation met with the White House National Security Council's Africa Director, the Acting Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, as well as representatives from the U.S. Treasury Department. Dirko striking an optimistic tone, indicating that these dialogues would assist in refining the U.S. administration's understanding of South Africa's position on critical matters and in fostering a more nuanced perspective. The delegation addressed the issues related to U.S. concerns about alleged human rights violations in South Africa, particularly in the context of certain minority groups, and the Land Expropriation Act's nil compensation clause as a means not to facilitate unlawful land seizures and undermine property investment, further explaining in detail how that process would work. Framing the discussions as cordial, Dirko says they also addressed misconceptions on what had been presented by some groups as race laws designed to undermine minority rights, providing information on the structural inequalities that continue to frame the country's broader landscape, arguing that the post-apartheid administration was constitutionally mandated to correct injustices of the past towards greater human dignity, equality, and the advancement of human rights consistent with the Constitution and the rule of law. SABC News also understands that South Africa's case at the International Court of Justice alleging genocide by Israel in Gaza also came up, with an appreciation that the case would not be withdrawn. All this as South Africa's Trade, Industry and Competition Minister Parks Tau indicated that he would be seeking engagements with US officials about the imposition of tariffs that undermine the preferential benefits countries including South Africa enjoy under the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, including recently announced tariffs targeting automobile and auto parts imports into the United States that could hurt some 64% of SA exports under the current free trade agreement. In essence, a positive tone being struck by Dirko here following meetings in New York and Washington D.C, calling the engagements fruitful, and that would now be carried out at various levels of government pursuant to the February 7th executive order issued by President Donald Trump. This includes positioning the current South African administration as a strategic partner of the United States, after a strategic dialogue was launched between the two countries as far back as April 2010. Sherman Bryceby's SABC News, New York.